You're watching Kenosha Community Media.
Well, hey, Jason, for me,
Either he wants to say something or eat something, one of the two.
Take the opportunity to put our musical interests.
Acting, dancing, and now singing a Grammy winner.
After those movies, and particularly Night Shift, and you did Gung Ho.
Really? Never knew that.
Welcome to Just Talking. We have a great show for you today. We are here at the first annual arcade game, video game expo, and it's going to be a great time in Rosemont, Illinois here. So let's go on in. Okay, here we are at Rosemont, Illinois at the first annual arcade convention, and I'm with your name?
Rob Burke.
Rob, may I say I'm just impressed on this whole expo. How did this all get started? This is the first year.
Yeah, I've been doing the Pinball Expo for years, like over 30 years here in Wheeling, and I decided maybe it's time to do a show to focus on a different group of people that like the arcade games, whether it be the handheld or the kind you put the coin in, of course, and I figured to give it a shot. I have a young son who's into these machines, loves them, and there's a whole community of people that collect these things, love them, and they're crazy about them. So there's a lot of energy in the group here and a lot of energy tonight.
Yeah. Why does it seem to be coming back around? People want to get back to those old 80s arcade games.
Yeah, and really they're becoming more collectible. Yeah. You know, whether it be the Donkey Kongs or Millipedes or let me try to think of another game that I have, a Space Invader. So these games have just lived on forever, and there's less and less of them around. And as more people get into the hobby, they can't hardly find the game. So here at this show, a lot of these old games that come from yesteryear, Pac-Man, the list goes on, are some of the early games that people played, and they're here today.
Wow, very neat. Now, what's going on at the convention today? Here they can do gaming?
Well, here, for one admission, you come in and just play all day, all night, but there's machines to buy, parts to buy, and games to buy, and it's everything for everyone. So it's kind of fun to be around the environment here and see all these people.
Yeah, absolutely. Now let's talk about the upcoming pinball convention that's coming up.
Yeah, Pinball Expo is going to be in Wheeling, Illinois, and Pinball Expo is an opportunity to meet the designers, the artists, and anyone involved in the field. We have machines, over 200 games for free play. We toured the Stern Pinball Factory. You can meet pinball artists and designers. It's all encompassing. It's 4 days of mass mayhem.
Right. And what's the date on that?
October 12th to 16th. Now, I understand you're coming down there because what do you guys do in Kenosha, Wisconsin? There's nothing to do out there.
Exactly, right. Well, coming here, this seems almost like worldwide. I've never seen this many old arcade classic games at one spot. How did you get them all in one spot?
Well, some are my personal collection. Others people have brought down. There's a fellow here, Doc Mack from Galloping Ghost Arcade. He brought over 50 games. Jim Zespi from Logan Arcade brought us several games. So with the support of these guys, there's a great community within this whole arcade and video realm that they help each other out. It's really a lot of fun.
If anybody wants more information about this event or other events, is there a Facebook page or a website?
It's pinballexpo.com. That's about the pinball show, but I got to ask you, can you still buy cheese curds out there in Wisconsin?
Oh, yeah, come on down to the spot. That's where they sell.
How about Old Style? Is that still around?
Oh, yeah, Old Style. Just come on. Milwaukee's very, you got to come up here to the Wisconsin area. And but there's a huge draw just for this arcade and gaming all over. Bowling alleys have pinball machines, gaming, bars, restaurants, all over.
It's crazy, Jason. They got these shows all over the U.S. I'm just one of many shows. They're regionalized and people come from coast to coast. I got 3 guys here from Japan. It's amazing. Wow. And these Japanese guys, man, they're so enthusiastic. They love these games. They can't get enough of them. If they can put them in their pocket, they put them in their pocket and take them home with them. They love it.
Right. Well, Don, we thank you so much for putting on this event today. It's a great event. We'll talk to some of the booths, and thank you so much for talking.
I want to thank you and your crew for coming here. I mean, you got like 15 guys here. It's amazing. You brought the whole studio.
Exactly.
But thanks for coming, buddy.
Okay, here we are again at the first annual Arcade Video and Game Room Expo, and I am honored to be here with Fred Young. Fred, nice to see you today. What do you think of the event so far today?
This is fantastic. You know, this is the first Arcade Video Expo that Mr. Robert Burke has organized, and he's very big into the pinball, because that's the 32nd year of the Pinball Expo, and this is something new. So this is the first time this has ever happened here. This is the first time I'm here at the Crown Point Plaza. I've never been here before, and they had a tour of the largest arcade. He's got an arcade in his basement, but this is the largest arcade. It's called the Galloping Ghost Arcade. 537 video games. I was over there last Tuesday, and I walk in, and Doc is the owner, and he said, "Oh, wonderful that you're here. Play anything you want." And two of my games were there. I'm on Bloodstorm, and I'm on Street Fighter from, I don't remember what the heck I did, Street Fighter from the movie with Jean-Claude Van Damme. So it was this much bigger. The games are, it's unbelievable. You should see this place. And it's out in Brookfield, Illinois. Here.
Well, for those who don't know you, you are the talk you gave is the man of 1,000 voices.
Well, no, 998. Actually, it's over 880. I used to do, well, I say 998 because it's funnier. Mel Blanc actually had 1,200 voices, but I got a lot of work to do. But it's true. It's absolutely true, yes.
So, how did you get started into voiceover work?
Oh my God, all right. I had a tonsillectomy when I was 7 years old. After I healed up, after I took out my adenoids, it was a 2-for-1 sale that day. I started watching the old Huckleberry Hound show, Hanna-Barbera, and I started talking in Huckleberry Hound's voice. I didn't know what it was. I started doing Huckleberry Hound. Not bad being a dog. And then taking a penny and doubling it every day. I was starting to do all the Hanna-Barbera stuff. Everything. By the time I was 12, I was doing it all. You name it. And then the Jetsons came. I started doing that. I said, "What's going on here?" I thought, well, anybody can do this.
And as far as what got your first gig, like a cartoon or animated or video games or what?
Oh my God! As far as the games are concerned,
yeah.
All right. This is true now. I'm jumping the gun. I was always doing recordings and narration and all kinds of things. I would leave a cassette. This is how to get, even though I have agents and things, I would leave a cassette at every single production house that I would ever go to when I was doing some recording. And one day, and on the cassette, it was my second character tape, was Pee Wee Herman's Playhouse, and I'm everybody on it. Remember Pee Wee Herman? Oh yeah, it's a lot of fun, especially when I'm looking for Clocky. Well, anyway, I can turn it on real quick. Anyway, oh yeah, real quick. Anyway, so I received a phone call. Somebody heard the tape, and they wanted me to do Star Trek for a pinball machine. I said, wait a minute, can I get out of it? Oh, famous last words. No, I don't know who the people are. I call up my friend. He said, well, you can't turn down Star Trek. So I had on there Kirk, Spock, McCoy, Scotty, and Chekhov. I forgot Sulu, but they had enough of an idea. So they wanted me to record this. I said, I don't know how to record a pinball machine. I know about commercials. I was on 5 Empire Carpet commercials, and I know about movies. I've done movies and television, but a pinball machine? I don't know about that. I said, well, will you do it? So I said, sounds like fun. And I went, and they couldn't believe it. And they went crazy. Then they had me record King Kong, Batman from 1989 with Michael Keaton, and Checkpoint. And we don't do 4 games in one day. It was a marathon. I said, well, that's nice. That was fun. Now on to back to commercials. Then I got another call, and it just went on and on and on, and I'm up to 35 pinball machines worldwide. And then when they heard the video people and redemption people, you familiar with Chuck E. Cheese? You know the Bozo Double Bucket game? They lost the cassette. So I got a phone call to do Bozo from the cartoon. But it has to be approved by Larry Harmon. Larry Harmon, for those who don't know, he has the copyright to the makeup and the wig and everything. They take it to Larry Harmon. Now he's the boss. God rest his soul. He says, boy, I sound really good on this. He says, that's not you, that's Fred. Went into the game, and now I'm heard at Chuck E. Cheese all the place. And I did a Star Wars pinball. That's heard in the largest Star Wars museum. It's called Rancho Obi-Wan. You can look it up. And I couldn't believe it. The Data East game is there, and I'm everybody except Princess Leia and R2-D2.
Okay, here we are at the first annual Arcade Video Game Room Expo, and I am with your name?
Doc Mack.
Doc, I want to say, okay, and you're owner and operator of?
Galloping Ghost Arcade.
Galloping Ghost Arcade. I'll tell you, I have been there, and it is phenomenal. I think what's so neat is that people are coming back to these 80s arcade games, and my question to you is why?
There's a lot of different reasons. Some are, for us, we get a lot of people that, because we have so many rare games, they're seeing stuff that they've never seen before, like stuff that came out in the 80s, and there's a lot of community to it too. So we've seen a lot of social aspects of people coming to the arcade and hanging out with their friends. There's a lot of families coming and parents showing their kids the games that they played in the 80s. So it's been really amazing watching it, kind of this rejuvenation of the whole arcade scene. And again, there's so many different reasons. Some people are playing for scores, there's collectors out there, so something for everybody for sure.
So how did you get involved with saying, woke up one day, I'm going to bring back the old arcade?
For me, my other company that I own, which is Galloping Ghost Productions, we're actually working on arcade games. So we were spending a lot of time going to arcades, and it just seemed like there was so many issues with so many arcades that were out there. They weren't maintaining their machines. The selection of games was slim, and arcades weren't being treated with the prestige that they should have. So that was really the part from the outset, to make a place that had a lot of rare stuff and offer things that people probably couldn't ever get from an arcade.
And there's been expansions to the place since day one.
We've had 4 expansions since we've opened, and we have 2 more coming, which will allow us to we're at 537 games right now. We opened with only 130, but with the next 2 expansions, we'll be about doubling in size, so we'll be able to have over 1,000 games in the arcade.
Honestly, I've been there, and I don't think you've missed a game. I was like going, oh my, even that Godzilla game was a rare find too.
Absolutely. There's, from my research, there's only 2 boards here in the U.S. It took me about 3 years to track a board down in Japan. Being a huge Godzilla fan, I've looked for a long time. I never even knew it was a game until doing all this research, and it's getting harder and harder to find games that we don't have and that we want. And that's why prototype games are such an interesting element to the collecting hobby.
Well, that's what's good, is that you have the background knowledge of repairing them, so you don't have to ship them out and wait for 3 weeks.
Absolutely. Repair has been such a instrumental part. It's so important to us to make sure that everything's playing properly. And having so many games, it's an everyday thing where me and Seth Young, the tech that works with us, and Doug Fox, who handles a lot of our board repair, they're instrumental in helping us keep everything up and running.
You must get this a lot. Where did Galloping Ghost, the name, come from?
Actually, there was a similar piece of art that I saw back in 1992, and I got it tattooed on me when I was 16. And I was talking with a gentleman who was working at a company called Razorsoft. He worked on Sega Genesis games, and we were talking about game design and development. And he was just asking if I worked with a company, and that was just kind of all happened right there. It was the company name, Galloping Ghost Productions, just all kind of came together, and it carried over to the arcade.
And where's Galloping Ghost located?
We're at 9415 Ogden Avenue in Brookfield, Illinois.
And if for a website for more information, or Facebook?
You can definitely check us out on Facebook. Just search for Galloping Ghost Productions or Galloping Ghost Arcade for our fan site. And then our website is just gallopingghost.com, gallopingghostarcade.com, or gallopingghostproductions.com.
Okay, here we are at the first annual Arcade Video Game Expo, and I'm with your name?
Derek Fugate.
And Derek, what do you think of the event today so far?
Oh, it's a great event. There's 168 video games. We've got about 30 pinball machines, and just a wonderful time meeting a lot of cool people in the hobby, and a lot of nice games here.
Now, you came here with your booth. What's your booth about?
My booth, it's about 80s nostalgia. I've got everything from Star Wars figures to Godzilla toys, Kiss figures, a lot of the Coleco mini arcades. Anything from the 80s and a little bit in between. I've got a lot of that, here.
How did you get started collecting 80s?
Just what I grew up in. A lot of these toys are from my childhood, and it's really nice to see a lot of parents, bringing their kids here, and then they kind of get in the hobby the same way. So a lot of that just what I grew up with and enjoying, and I just kind of stayed with it and just kind of never left that 80s kind of theme, I guess. I love that style,
I love the 80s too, and why is it such a popular collecting culture?
I believe it's just because of the time, the 80s, a lot of the 80s toys, like these little mini arcades that I have here, these Coleco games, they're from 1982. And they're relics of these arcade games when arcade games used to rule everything. You go to a mall, you couldn't go in there without seeing an Aladdin's Castle or, maybe like a Jolly Time arcade or something like that. And you think about all the old, like Showbiz Pizza places around our area. They were just so popular, and video games were everywhere. And I really got into pinball and video games, but I got into video games first. So that was something I grew up with. And everybody played Atari and Nintendo and ColecoVision and all that. So I think now a lot of the kids are getting more involved with these games because it's new to them, yet, it's kind of like some people, they never left that time period.
What's one of your favorite video games?
Oh, gosh. I'd say Pac-Man. Classic Pac-Man's one of my favorites, but I also like... I like Galaga, Miss Pac-Man, any of the Midway Namco games, and I liked a lot of the Turbo, Pole Position, Outrun. Some of those driving games were some of my favorites too.
Okay, well, I want to thank you so much for coming to this expo, Derek. It's a great event, probably a historic event because it's the first one.
There's been a lot of famous people here. And by the way, did you guys get a picture of his shirt? His shirt is the exact same backdrop that I have. Even the score, look at that. It's like the same. It's so cool that you're wearing the same shirt. And so many people have asked me about this big blanket thing I have back there. I'm like, it's just a big backdrop, for the thing. But it's like, I saw that and I'm like, dang, not only is it the same shirt, it's like, that's so cool.
Thank you. And we're both from the 80s, so that works out. Well, we thank you, Derek, for coming on down to the expo, and thanks so much for talking with us today.
All right, thank you.
Okay, here we are at the first annual Video Game Expo, and I'm with your name?
Christina.
Christina, nice to see you. What booth are we at today?
We are at Bandai Namco's Level 257. It's actually a Pac-Man inspired restaurant, bar, bowling alley, and arcade.
That is really neat, and it's also got some classic arcade games there.
We do. We of course have Pac-Man. We have Donkey Kong, Frogger, Galaga, Galaxian, Centipede. We have a decent amount of old school games, and then we do have a couple new school games. So it's pretty cool.
It's a nice family-friendly time.
It is family friendly. Like I said, we're a restaurant, but we also have 2 bars, so the adults can mingle, but we never turn kids away, and it's always nice that they actually do enjoy the old school games, which is kind of surprising.
I believe there's a story why it's called Level 257. Could you explain that?
Yeah. Well, technically the last level of Pac-Man is level 256. So we're 257 because we are the next level of entertainment. So that's how we got our name.
And it is. I'll tell you, it really is nice. And it's by Woodfield Mall.
Correct. It's at Woodfield Mall right next to Sears.
And you have birthday party, or people can have birthday parties there?
We do. We've had a couple birthday parties. We've had a couple weddings there, which was pretty cool. Yeah, we do a lot of private events and holiday parties. We really welcome everybody, and yeah, we don't turn people away, so everybody should check it out.
And you brought today, I believe, Pac-Man himself.
Yeah, we had Pac-Man out here for a little bit. But yeah, he was out here for a little bit, taking pictures with everyone.
And if anybody wants more information about Level 257, is there a website?
Yeah, it's just level257.com.
Well, we thank you so much for coming out to this event. It's a great event, and so is Level 257, and thanks so much for talking with us today.
Oh, thank you. It's nice talking to you, too.
Okay, here we are at the first annual Video Game Expo here in Rosemont, Illinois, and I'm with your name?
My name is Walter Day, and I'm from Fairfield, Iowa.
Walter, thanks so much for coming to this event. It's a great event. For those who don't know your background, what are you doing here today?
Well, some people consider me the father of esports, and I'm here sort of as a guest celebrity who's here to just talk about the history of gaming and to welcome people and be sort of a spokesperson and an ambassador as people are coming from all over the region, because this game honors the amazing legacy and history of the arcade era.
So let's hear a little history. How did the whole arcade video games get started?
Well, arcade games really became popular back around 1979, 1980. You know, you had Pac-Man, you had Donkey Kong, Centipede, Tempest and Frogger, and games like that. And there was a huge following. Millions and millions and millions of people had those arcade games as their introduction to computer literacy. 99% of the people who went into the arcade and played those games way back then, 99% of those people were having a direct personal experience for the first time ever with a computer. So it was a very interesting development. It changed the way the world works, actually. So arcade games are very important, not only as a nostalgic personal memory for millions of people, but also for that landmark moment when the world became computer-driven.
So what happened to the arcade games at some point? Because they were in every grocery store, every corner, and then boom, there was it stopped for a while.
Yeah, well, there was a big bust of the industry. Essentially, the games became so popular so fast that lots and lots and lots of people in the video game industry would buy the games on credit until everybody was highly leveraged and had, when you buy one of these games back then, they cost like $2,900, essentially the equivalent to buying a new car. And when you go in an arcade and see 50 games, you're seeing that person having 50 car mortgages all there in that arcade, and they're trying to pay it off with quarters earned one at a time from the population. Eventually, the kids got bored with the games that were out there, and also they started getting home games, so they stopped spending as much money in the arcade. So eventually, a lot of arcades got foreclosed on because they couldn't pay those monthly mortgage payments for buying those games on credit.
Very interesting. What was one of your favorite arcade games?
Oh, I love Centipede. I love Make Tracks. I love Donkey Kong. I love Miss Pac-Man and Pac-Man a lot. Lots of games, Galaxian and Gorf and Wizard of War. They're all games that are old standbys that most people recognize.
And so why is now this sort of big wave now coming back where people want to play these old arcade games?
Well, it's the element of nostalgia, but it's also the element of a lot of the people who grew up in the early 1980s. They are now successful, they have families, they now have discretionary money they can spend, so they love this as a hobby, owning the arcade games and having them in their house. And believe it or not, even though this may be a new idea to a lot of people watching this broadcast, there are a lot of people now with home arcades who will have 5, 10, 15, even up to 150 of these full-size arcade games in their house or on their property. So it's an amazing phenomenon.
Now, have you written any books, or have you been in any publications?
Well, I've written 3 books. And I've been in about 12 movies where I actually play myself with a referee, because I started the first esports organization back in 1981 when I founded an organization called Twin Galaxies, and we were the scorekeepers and the contest adjudicators back at the very beginning when arcades first started having contests and started, just setting up shop all over the nation, all over the world. So we were the scorekeepers. So we are considered by many the first official esports organization in history. What's interesting, that'll come as an interesting surprise to the viewers, is that one of the biggest places, one of the hotbeds of competitive video game competition, way back at the very dawn of video game playing, in 1981-82, was Kenosha, Wisconsin. Kenosha, Wisconsin had 3 or 4 major arcades that were all very engaged and competing with each other in adjudicating and submitting world record scores to our organization, which was based in Ottumwa, Iowa. So for a while there, I kind of viewed Kenosha as being one of the video game capitals of the world, because so many people were getting high scores, and there was a moment there when Kenosha was the place that had more world records than any other city in the world. So those of you who are from Kenosha, I take my hat off to you, if I had a hat, and tell you that once upon a time, you guys were temporarily like a video game capital, the place where there were more world records held by local video game players than any other city in the world.
So is there a website for your organization or a company or anything like that?
People can go to twingalaxies.com. It's about TWIN, twin, galaxies, plural, which is GALEXIES.com.
Okay, we are just rocking it out here at the first annual Arcade Game Expo, and I am with your name?
I'm Brian Colin.
Brian, nice to see you today. What do you think of the event so far today?
It has been fun. It has been every conversation I've had has not been rushed. And everybody's been really wonderful.
All right. So for those who aren't familiar with your work, what did you do in the 80s?
In the 80s, I worked. I touched almost everything that came out of Bally Midway. I got my first game was Discs of Tron. I got to work on games like Spy Hunter and Demo Derby, and then started designing more with games like Sarge. And then I'm probably best known for coming up with Rampage. So then we left the arcade behind for a little while, and then Midway asked us to come back and do Rampage World Tour 10 years after the original, which we did. And for some reason, I'm still doing games to this day and having a ball.
So where did you come up with Rampage? Did you sit back and watch some Godzilla, King Kong movies, or what? And threw in a Wolfman?
Actually, everybody assumes that, and I certainly there was the movie influence, but Rampage came about because we'd been to a trade show, and myself and a couple of the other artists, I was complaining to one of our hardware guys, it's like, how come we can't do background animation? I've seen some other games out there where they can do scrolling, and no, our hardware won't do that. It's like, come on, we got to be able to do something. It's like, no, the only thing you could do is if a rectangle was animating. And it's like, can you do anything with that? And I looked at Sharon, the other artist we were talking, and I said, wait a minute, a building falling into itself, that's a rectangle animating. And from there, it was that was the germ of the idea. And then it's like, wait a minute, now I could do big characters. So as you can see from my art, I'm kind of a humor, pen and ink, tongue-in-cheek kind of guy. So the Rampage monsters let me do characters where I could show emotion, and so I could get players to start laughing. And so Rampage was really the turning point for me.
Let's hear a little history of Bally Midway, because now they're still operating today. Is that correct or not?
Oh, no. In the years I was there, they went from being Midway to Bally Midway, and then, like I say, in 1989, Williams bought us out, and myself and programmer Jeff Nauman were the only two video designers they kept. And then we finished Arch Rivals for the new Williams Bally Midway.
Because wasn't Bally Midway kind of had the cornerstone for pinball machines?
They were. When I took the job, I thought I was answering an ad to be a pinball artist. I really did. I thought, I had no idea when I went in they wanted a real animator. It's only the last year and a half, 2 years, that I realized there's this resurgence now in the arcades, and I'm loving it because it kind of brings me full circle. Yeah, and I'm actually working on a couple of arcade projects right now. Yeah.
So if anybody want to see your work online, do you have a website or anything like that?
Probably the Facebook page is Game Refuge on Facebook is the best place to see current stuff. There's also GameRefuge.com, which you can see. I've got about 90 games under my belt, and that has every one of them listed and details about who worked on them, because it's a team effort. It's not just me. And that's GameRefuge.com. But Facebook, the current stuff is just the Facebook Game Refuge page, or they can follow me, Brian F. Colin, on Twitter.
Well, Brian, may I say you do an excellent artwork and designer, and especially Rampage, because you get more people playing with the three together.
I love coming to these things and watching the kids, watching families play Rampage. It's fun.
That's what I did. It's a fun game. So we thank you so much for coming to this event, and thanks so much for talking with us today.
Thank you.